So sometime during the evening, if I need to. I've already asked Bill if he would kind of take over and talk more. I'd talk less, and he quickly jumped at that. So I would talk less. So if that happens, that's why. Let's see, I'll wait for Jen. If we can, Jen, can we, hold on a minute. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, if we got a roll call, please. Here.
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 Great, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, if we can go have the flag salute by Trustee Ahmad.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Did that a little bit out of order. Superintendent Decker, would you like to report out of closed session, anything? Thank you. All righty, section 3.1, any adjustments to the agenda for anybody?
There will be an adjustment for agenda for my report. My report is going to be moved to next regular board meeting. I had some difficulties on my end putting it up in PowerPoint, so it's just going to be moved to next regular board meeting we have in March.
So 3.3, we're going to postpone until next meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else? All righty. Any public comments on any open session items that anyone in the audience would like to make? These are for items that are not on the agenda now for tonight. If it's on the agenda, when we get to that item, then we'll have public comment so you can address that issue at that point. So is there any other? Sure. All we need you guys to do, I know it's been a long time since we've had public comment and people getting together. Basically, what we'd like you to do is just come to the podium and just say your name and where you live. Actually, the town of Windsor does that. I don't know if you need to do that for us, do we? Just your name and then your topic.
Okay. My name is Kyle Messer, and I have I have a young child at Maddie Washburn. I was just wondering when we're going to reevaluate when we were going to leave it up to the household to make the decision on whether or not to mask our children.
Okay.
Will that be addressed in the superintendent's report?
Yeah, so that's good. And this is all a relearning for all of us. So basically on public comment, if it's not on the agenda, you guys can bring it up and you can ask about it. We're prohibited from the Brown Act. We can't, like if you ask me what color is my hair, I can't answer it because it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
But we hear what you're saying and we listen to what you're saying. And then we can factor that into either a future board meeting or we would direct our superintendent to give guidance out to the
Mr.
schools.
Messer, I'm going to give a superintendent update, and I'll make sure I include that in my update, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, yes, sir.
Thanks.
Take this off when I'm up here?
Excuse me?
Can I take this off while I'm up here?
If you would,
Perfect. Okay, so hi, I'm Sarah Lockwood. I'm a Windsor resident. I am the face of the email that was sent to all of you this week. Hopefully you got more than just mine, but only one of you responded, so I'm not really sure. I was going to reread the letter, but I'm just going to pick some points from it. So we're 2 years in, and the research literature is increasingly clear face masks are ineffective against airborne viruses. There's many studies showing this and even attesting to the harm and ineffectiveness of compulsory masking, especially in children. So the primary question is, why would we continue forcing students, our lowest risk age group, to remain masked at schools when we know children do not readily acquire or spread SARS-CoV-2 to other children or teachers or endanger parents or others at home? And in rare cases where the kids do get the virus, 99.995% chance of survival. California has seen a 65% drop recently in COVID cases overall. We all saw the Super Bowl. And the message that sent to the kids everywhere is that all of California has moved on and left them behind. So that is why the urgency. The kids have already suffered enough. I align myself with the words of Dr. Jean Noble, Director of COVID-19 Response for the UCSF Emergency Department at the University of California, San Francisco, who states, kids do not need to be masked, full stop. They have minuscule risk of serious illness or death. So I did notice that you did not add a resolution to remove masks or make them personal preference to the agenda like I had requested. So that's disappointing. And now you're probably waiting for this nebulous announcement that we're told we're going to have in 2 weeks by the governor. But that's just going to be potentially another statement of what next metric he is looking for, which is just going to be goalposts moved again for reasons based on agendas and politics, not on risks. Okay, so if you guys are waiting for that, we, the parents that I represent, are waiting on you to step out of your comfort zone and come out and resolve to make the masks personal preference of the family, preference of the kid at school. I know this is out of your comfort zone, but this is what we are calling on you to do, okay? If it's out of your comfort zone, you feel that it's breaking the law, you wonder what message that sends to the kids, think of the message the Super Bowl sent, that they're all been left behind and everybody but them is fine without masks. And then think of the people that also stepped out of their comfort zone in the last century. Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Susan B. Anthony, anyone who sheltered a Jew in Europe in World War II. Okay, all these people were breaking unjust laws. And so if you're really worried about going up against laws by making a resolution within a district and stepping out of your comfort zone, those are your examples and they are regarded as heroes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just so everybody knows, the one of our board policies is when somebody sends a letter to all the board, they usually only get one response back from the board. Otherwise, because then it just crisscrosses. And truthfully, when I first got on the board, I didn't understand how that worked or that it worked well. And actually, I've changed my opinion. It actually does work well. So then that way, the information that's getting out it's getting out correctly. So when you sent your letter, and I appreciate that, it's typical that you would only get one reply back. If you get two, it might be from a board member and possibly our superintendent as well. So anyhow, that's why you weren't ignored. Everybody gets the message, and then you just get it back from one person. And that goes for everybody. So, but thank you.
Hi. My name is Amanda Dunbar, and I currently have 3 children in the school district, 2 at Maddie Washburn and 1 in 4th grade at Brooks Elementary. I'm hoping that the board can come to a resolution soon on mask choice for children in the classroom. While I understand the district is following the state guidance, we need to look at what's really going on. I found a great video that supports the idea of mask choice, and I can send it to you all after I speak. I think you'd be pleased to hear that it came from CNN. Dr. Wen explains that, wildly enough, the science has changed and masking only works one way, meaning if you wear yours, you're protected. No need for me to wear mine to protect you. Also, with vaccines readily available to kindergarten through 12th, that at this point, it should be personal choice. COVID has never been the biggest threat to children, and especially now, after the craziness of January and early February. Most everyone in this community has recovered from COVID. What is the point of masking children who have natural immunity? We've also learned that our fabric masks are useless except to merely show compliance. To go back to Dr. Wen's video, she states that the use of masks are harming children. She comments that the youngest learners, children with learning disabilities, and English as second language students have had the cost of masking. With my son in kindergarten, we have had to work extra hard at home to show him to enunciate his words. His teacher can't see his mouth, and she can't see that what he is saying. He really is saying duh. And it's now February. This should have been resolved in August, September. These children deserve better. They need to stop being made to feel like they are a threat to anyone for simply breathing. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of sports games and double standards, but I think it should be noted that a California Teacher Association board member attended a sporting event last month indoors and proudly posted himself maskless on Facebook. I can also send that to you as well if you'd like. As a parent, I'm done with the finger pointing of who exactly is to blame for children still being in masks. I've heard it's the state, I've heard it's you all, the school board, I've heard it's the teachers union, and I've heard it's other parents still afraid. It's enough. It's time to stop it and stand for our children. It's been 2 years. Give these children a sense of normalcy, please. And I also want to mention, if the state guidance on the 28th allows only the vaccinated to unmask in schools and the district follows that is discrimination and you can expect lawsuits from it. There's plenty more information I can share and would love to work with the district to hash this out, and I would be emailing you the informative video and look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I forgot one other thing. Yeah, we were allowed 3 minutes for each person to talk, and you were like perfectly on it. So I don't know if you practiced or you knew, but just in case, I've never been able to stay under 3 minutes. So very good. But I just wanted to remind everybody. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm hoping that my little partner here won't scream into the microphone. My name is Angela Robinson, and I have a son in third grade at Village Charter School in the district. And I am also speaking on behalf of lifting the mask mandates. I wanted to let you know that I'm here today as a concerned mother. Like I said, I have my son in third grade. He's 8 years old at Village Charter School. Him, like many other students, missed 17 months of in-person instruction, but he loves school so much and is such a good learner that he wanted to be with his friends in person. I didn't want to send him back to campus because I didn't want him to wear a mask, but he wanted to go back to campus so bad that he was willing to put up with wearing a mask every day in school for him to be there with his friends. I didn't want to send him because I knew that it was going to have mental health effects because I saw those mental health effects during the lockdowns. And I don't need to go into the details because I'm sure you've heard of it and all the different things and the different effects it's had on the students. But just know that my son was one of them. I want to be very clear and let you know that these last 7 months of him going to school with the mask has been mentally and emotionally taxing for both of us. It kills me every day to have to ask him, did you bring your mask? Did you bring your mask? Did you lose your mask? Did you bring your mask? Every time I ask him that, it breaks my heart. My son has experienced anxiety, increased stress. This is a child who never had any problems before. He never had any mental health issues at all. And now he's telling me every day how stressed out he is at school. And some days he doesn't want to go to school because he doesn't want to have to sit there with a mask on in classroom. This is a child who had perfect attendance from TK through second grade. And now in third grade, if he doesn't want to go to school one day because he doesn't want to wear a mask, I'm happy not to send him because I'm not going to force him to go to class and sit there with a mask on. In addition, I've learned recently this has created a lot of tension in the classroom. Children are now policing each other and they're keeping tabs on each other and telling each other to put their mask up. And he has had to argue with children in his classroom that are his friends to let them know that he's in control of his own body and that he can take a break and he can take his mask off and go outside if he wants to. These are not the interactions that these children should be having with each other. They shouldn't be policing each other about what's going on with their own body. If you don't think that wearing a mask at school every day is affecting these children mentally and emotionally, you are not paying attention or you are not talking to these children. Because if you ask them if it's affecting them, they will tell you the truth. And the truth is that it's taking a toll. It's taking a big toll on them. If you think like that you're going to link this to the vaccine mandates or that when the governor says it, you can't link it to that. It's unethical. It's going to cause discrimination at school. So they're not letting kids at school that are positive for COVID. That's fine. Kids that aren't sick don't go to school. The only kids at school are the ones who are negative for COVID and don't have symptoms. They don't need to wear a mask. I've already informed my son that if the mandate is not lifted, he will not be returning to Windsor School District to Village Charter School in the fall, and I will be forced to either homeschool or go to private school and take our money and our resources somewhere else. Please, please, please consider making this a personal choice.
Thank you very much.
Hi. Do I need, are we introducing ourselves and doing all the official things? Okay, my name is Stacy. I have 2 kids in the Windsor School District. One's in Brooks and the other one is in middle school. Until the past few years, I've loved and just so appreciated the Windsor School District. I thought we were the cream of the crop. I thought my kids were so lucky to be in this town. But one thing that disappoints me is that I see some super intelligent, smart, just powerful people sitting up here. Every single one of you up here are here for a reason, right? But what I don't see is the fight for these kids to do the right thing. To do the right thing. They were masked indoors and outdoors when they didn't even have to be. That wasn't the right thing for the kids. That was the right thing for the school's data. So the school could collect their data. CDC, CDPH never recommended outdoor masking. Our kids were outdoor masked for almost 2 years. When there was literally no data that supported it. Your COVID positive, first child who ended up COVID positive in the Windsor School District happened after you implemented outdoor masking. So your data is just, it did. We didn't have any. You implemented it at that meeting. I was here when you implemented outdoor masking. It wasn't until the next round of data that we had our first positive. Okay, then will you show me the numbers another time? But I do agree with the parents who have seen psychological detriment in their children due to masking. There are studies going on right now about speech delays in 4-year-old children, 5-year-old children, contributing to the masking. If we were truly looking at science, we never would have masked the kindergartners. We never would have masked them. One other thing I wanted to bring up too is the actual delay in academic development that's happening with these kids right now. Whether it's masking, whether it's the online schooling that was done, we may not ever know. We may not ever know, but we know that it's there. We know that, okay. Have I hit 3 minutes? Wow, okay. I'll email you because I really want to look, because I remember being at that meeting and we had 0 cases. Then after we implemented it, we had 1. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Stacy.
Hello. Hello, my name is Mia Bean. I have 5 children. 4 of them are in school. One of them's 4 years old, so he's not in school. 2 of them are in the Windsor District at Village Charter. I should have a 3rd child in Village Charter, but I pulled him out because I got an email every single day that he wouldn't keep his mask on. It was like below his nose because he's very petite and he has a small frame, and I could not find a mask to fit him, and so it would constantly fall down. And so I got an email every day, and I just was tired of it. So I homeschool him, and so I have 2 more kids left in the Windsor District, And I just wanted to, I wasn't planning on getting up here, but I felt moved by all the other parents coming up. And I figure for each one person that comes up, it represents probably at least 50 to 100 parents who wanted to be here but are too shy or can't make the time or whatever. But I hope that that makes sense, that I'm representing more people than are here. But I just would also like to throw my name in the hat and say I would prefer that the children are given a choice, and that it should be personal preference. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yeti Fife. I'm going to try to make this a little short and sweet, and just let you all know that you continue to disappoint me in not standing up for our children. And I can guarantee you that, like that previous woman said, for every one of us here, there's at least 50 or 100 parents that couldn't be here for baseball just started, basketball's going on, sports, parents having to make dinner for their kids, bathe their children. But I can guarantee you that if something does not change within the Windsor School District Board, none of you will ever get a vote from me or the support from me or my family ever again. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to talk about anything that is not on the agenda right now? Okay. Alrighty. I just want to say that thank you for everybody that's come and talked. We hear what you say. We just sometimes can't address what you say, as I mentioned earlier, but it's on all of our minds too, because we're all parents as well. We'll go to 3.4, Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Decker.
So give a COVID update.
Okay.
So we've seen an 89% decline from our peak numbers, which were January 10th. No, we don't need the PowerPoint. And that's so.
Jeremy, can you use this microphone a little more?
Yeah, I'm
Thanks.
sorry. So 89% decline from our peak numbers, which was January 10th. And it's odd, but so when we're looking at three different metrics, so cases, weekly testing, as well as positive PCR results, they all align at 88 or 89%. So it's consistent across the board. We've seen a great decline in COVID impacting our school district. The indoor mask mandate, as everybody was addressing, is still in effect. In fact, Dr. Mark Gailey, he's the California Health and Human Services Secretary. He said over the next 2 weeks, state health officials are going to review student vaccination rates, COVID case numbers, hospitalization rates, and national and global trends to determine an appropriate time to drop the mandate. And we're supposed to get guidance sometime around February 28th. That's kind of what's out there right now. Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, you said that the mask mandate, it's still in effect.
It's still in effect.
So for everybody to understand, who is in effect from? Is it in effect from the state, or is it in effect from our board policy?
It's a good question. It's not our board policy. So there's a district called Roseville. Okay, Roseville is up Sacramento area. They're a high school district. And their board has made a resolution to make masks optional. So, and their claim is that basically it's up to the school board. However, they're the only place that has made that claim. And Placer County, I believe is what it's in, Placer County, I believe, is where it is. Their county health department has said they are not the enforcers that the school district is. However, that's the only county that has made that claim. So the state makes the mandate. It gets passed down to the county. The county can make a greater mandate, if you will. It can't lessen the state's mandate, but can make it greater. And ultimately, they are the enforcers of the mandate. So it's not actually within your purview to make this decision. The only place that has made that statement is Roseville at this point. And I've gotten emails from some of our members that are in the audience. And so, I try to listen, and I tried to do my research to really look this up. And that's what I found.
So just for clarification, so the state in a week or two, whatever, tomorrow, could say we're lifting the mandate
Correct.
On students. But our county health director could be more restrictive than that.
Correct.
If she wanted to, correct?
Correct.
And at that point, then we would have a different decision to make.
Correct.
Maybe.
Yes.
Is that right?
Ultimately, so if you were to make a change now, you would be breaking the law, which is a mandate. If it came to the county health department making that mandate, well, I would have to check to see if that is breaking the law or not. I'm
Right.
actually unsure. So then we'd have to do some research, probably talk to our legal advisor.
Thank you.
So also totally shifting course, that was the COVID update. Also facilities master plan. So you guys have, we made a decision to go with a certain firm and we've had 2 meetings thus far. And they're a great group and we're going to start doing outreach to community, to staff, to start to have greater discussions around the vision for our school district with regard to facilities. So that's upcoming and board members, some of you will be on that as well. That's my update.
Thank you very much. All right, moving to 3.5, Staff Association report. I can't tell, is Pete or Brad here?
They're both here.
Okay. Okay, both here and, okay, very good, thank you. Moving to 3.6, Board Trustee report. Anything anyone needs to report to? Anyone? Nobody? I'm just gonna say that, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, last meeting I had asked, and I know we were busy with a number of other items, so I'll ask again if we could put it on in our March meeting. We do have one of our number up here, Trustee Ahmad, who is announced as a candidate for another elected office for the city council or the town council. And what I'd like us to do is have a discussion about the process we are going to use for a potential vacancy. As I understand it, we can appoint, we can not act, as other people who have said at this dais did, and wait months for an election. And would just like to have that discussion amongst the board. So in the event that does come up, we've done some pre-planning. So if perhaps the superintendent and the board president could work on that issue. I don't anticipate it being on for action because the event will not have happened. I understand the election's April 12th, but I would like us to get in front of that if we could. The other piece I'd just like to mention is 4 years ago this week on Valentine's Day, I know we have a lot of other crises and challenges, but 4 weeks ago this week, we had 17 people killed in Florida in a school shooting at Parkland. 17 people were wounded. And while we have a lot of things we think about, I think about that a lot, and we have made a lot of progress on that. And you just pray for them. So that's all I wanted to say about that we don't forget.
All right, thanks, Bill. Sorry, I didn't see you when you made it. Anybody else have something to say? Just two things. One is, along with adding that to the agenda next week, I think it would be good, at least for me, speaking only for myself, if the next couple agendas for a while, we have a item on here just addressing COVID. So that way we can actually have a dialogue with the parents. If they have comments or questions, that we can actually talk about it. And so it's a topic that we all think about. We have to deal with it a lot. And so I'd like to just as a bullet point, a standing item, there you go, thanks you, that we have that on there because there's some comments that were made that I'd like to reply to and get more information and reply. And I think that would be a good, healthy dialogue between all of us. And so if we have it on the agenda, then we can do that. So if we can do that. And the last thing is, I'm going to miss it, but a bunch of our finest wrestlers are on the way down to North Coast tournament this week. And hopefully, I think we should have, quite a few of them heading on to the state meet the week after. So good luck to those guys, and I'll be seeing them in a day. So anyhow, go Jags. Basketball and soccer. Oh, anybody, anything else? Real good. All righty. 3.7, approval of the minutes from the January 20th meeting. Do anybody like to make a motion or?
I'll move approval of the minutes from January 20th as submitted in the packet.
All righty. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All righty. Any discussion? All righty. Can we have a vote? I guess it's just standard vote. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty, 5-0. And one special one. 5-0 plus. 5-0 plus, there you go. All righty, thank you. Bill, we'll go to the consent items.
Sure. Trustee Adams, before you go,
Yes, sir.
can I ask that we revisit 4.22? We have to go back into closed session to revisit that. We ran out of time. It's our personnel action report.
So you want to scratch 4.2?
Yeah, I think we need to go back into close to make sure that we go through that document right after open and then report back out. Okay.
Okay.
There's a couple
Okay.
things on there that need discussion.
All right. So thank you for that. So with that, we'll withdraw 4.22 on the personnel assignment order. Is there any conflict of interest or other recusals that any of the board members may have on any of the consent items?
I don't think so.
Okay, hearing none then, I'd make a motion for the board to approve our consent items number 4.1 through 4.25, with the exception of 4.22, which we will pull, and for a discussion in closed session. Yeah, so I would make a motion to approve those and would welcome a second.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion or public comment?
Any discussion, board members? All right, is there any comment from any of the people in the public on the consent items? Not seeing any, I'll bring it back to the board. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, 5-0 plus one. All righty, thank you, Bill. All righty. On to section 5, 5.1, the Windsor High School representative discussion. Yeah. Oh,
Okay, so we're going to have.
No, I was going to introduce the item and Brian is going to present the
Oh.
item.
okay.
So we have Brian Williams here tonight, principal from Windsor High School, to talk through our ninth grade math placement and data from first semester.
All right, welcome. Waiting for the presentation to come up. So good evening, President Carnation, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Decker, and Cabinet. So this was a report that I did over the summer, which was actually behind from when the report was supposed to be given. And so this is actually the time every year that this report is supposed to be given. So this is our ninth grade placement of courses. And so you can see kind of how the different of enrollment that we have. So each grade level is a different color. So you can see that in Integrated Math 1A, which is our pre-Math 1 course, that it was only ninth grade. And then as you move through down the line, you'll see that more seniors and juniors are enrolled in those courses. So that was the previous year. This is this year. So one of our biggest changes is that we switched from splitting algebra or Math 1 over 2 years into offering that pre-Math 1 course and then into that integrated Math 1 course. So 89% of all of Windsor High School students are enrolled in math, and that would make it up with 91% of the juniors and 69% of the seniors that are currently still enrolled in one of their courses. You can look to see by ethnicity. Our pre-Math 1 course is 71.8% Latinx, while 26.9% is white. And then just to remind you that we typically have about a 50-50 demographic split for the school. Going into enrollment for Math 1, it looks a little bit closer to what our school looks like. 56% is Latinx and 35.1% is our white population, and then the rest is mixed up with our other ethnicities and races. So you're looking at year over year. So now it's 21, so 57% versus 35%. Math 2 from 2020. And then Math 2 from 2021. Math 3 from 2020 versus Math 3 from 2021. So for our placement that we offered this year is that pre-Math 1 course that we have a strict requirement based by the board on who goes into that course. But you can start as a freshman in that course and still finish with integrated Math 3 by the time that you're a senior, which allows you to stay on that A through G track. So pre-Math 1 is essentially many of the same standards that are from Math 8. So it's a foundational course for integrated Math 1. We use a common exam in all of the classes to confirm placement. We use the Berkeley, both at the middle school and at the high school. We use grades from the middle school, and we also use teacher recommendation. And so, of course, if the parent and the student feels like the placement wasn't appropriate, then of course they can appeal. So let's talk about looking at 2020 and kind of the D and F range. You'll see that in Math 1A and 1B, we were looking at like a 66% receiving a D or an F. In integrated Math 1, you've heard this statistic a lot about the 40% receiving a D or F, and Math 2 along, and that's much of the information that you received at the previous presentation. So for pre-Math 1, receiving a D or F was down to 39%, and here's the exciting piece. You'll notice that receiving a D or F in integrated Math 1, 14%. And I can tell you that of those 14%, not a single freshman failed Math 1 this year in fall semester. So that really shows that the work that the math department did to place the kids in their appropriate classes worked, and that we're going to have a lot more students being successful going forward. Here's the breakdown from pre-Math 1 and fall of 21. You will see that it's about a 58-42 split between male and female. And you can see their grades breakdown. You can see the Latinx versus non-Latinx percentages and how their grades break down. And that's where you're going to see a bit of a disparity. And that is an area that we will continue to work on is the percent of students who are identified as Latinx, that they're still failing at a higher rate than their white peers. So we will continue to work on that as well. And then you can see the same percentages for integrated Math 1 for 2020. And then compare that with 2021. So the work that we did with Math 1 over the last several years, working with Director Saxon, working on standards-based grading, rubrics, de-emphasizing penalties for homework, and emphasizing showing mastery through assessments, it has really helped our ability to reduce the number of Fs in the courses and have students be more successful. And there's Math 2 from 2020. Compared to what we did in Math 2 for 21. Math 2 was a course that I was very concerned about going into this year because of distance learning from the previous year, to make sure that students were ready. And the Math 2 team has put in a considerable amount of work to get students caught up and to make sure that they're ready to move on to Math 3. So our challenges, of course, is that 32% of our students earned a D or F in the 1920, and 40% earned a D or F in 2021 in the Math Course 1 alone. So, and then looking at the differences in the subgroup achievement gaps. So we added, as I said, the pre-Math 1 course or the Math 8 course for option for freshmen. We're going to be building in those Math 1 support classes for next year. Looking at Math 2 support classes, implementations for standards-based grading practices, looking at those key competency standards, and reducing the DNF rate for 10% every single year moving forward. And that's it. Are there any questions? Yes.
Brian, do you see any difference, even if it's anecdotal, from the eighth graders coming in from Cali as opposed to the eighth graders coming in from Windsor Middle School? Or is that something we even track particularly?
That was also identified as an area of need, is that we do not evaluate the students coming in from Cali at the same level that we do. So basically, students coming into Cali were moved into Math 1 automatically. And then we're only moved down to pre-Math 1 if the teacher and the counselor saw a need.
Okay.
So we do give the Berkeley at the very beginning of the year to make sure that they're placed appropriately. But moving forward, we're going to work much closer with Cali to make sure that their teachers have an opportunity to give input about whether or not they should be placed in pre-Math 1, Math 1, or Math 2.
Well, this was a spectacularly good news report. We have spent, as you know, hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars working on math, and it appears that it's really bearing fruit now. So congratulations to you and your team. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'll share that with them.
I do have a question. I was wondering what happens if you're a student and you're, let's say, a ninth grader and you're taking Math 1 and you receive a D. Do you have an opportunity to retake that class for a better grade? Or
Did you say if you're an eighth grader?
no, if you're a freshman?
Oh, if you're a freshman in Math 1 and you receive a D,
Yes.
you would need to, in the current model, you would need to retake that course before moving on to Math 2.
So could you take that, could a student take that in the summer and then be able to move on to Math 2 in the fall of their sophomore year?
We have not had that as a practice, but that's something we're exploring.
Mm-hmm.
It's called validating a course because you want to make sure you have that C or better for transcripts. So
Right.
traditionally, it's been that they've retaken the course. But there's a whole other presentation on that.
Okay, I was just curious because I was hoping that, some students, if they're not able to move ahead, then that would sort of cancel out their opportunities to go to college.
So we have offered that in the past. And in the last 2 summers, the difficulty has been recruiting qualified math teachers to teach summer school so that students can get through Math 1 successfully and get into Math 2 the following school year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Mom. Stephanie?
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks, Brian, for the presentation. I wanted to give a little background on a conversation that we had recently. We went to the California School Board Association conference in San Diego, and then we ended up having a pretty robust discussion about math, because I think, at least I think I can speak for the other board members as well who were there were, and I think that the scores have improved dramatically this year, but we're just very, very concerned about the number of students who are like coming into their first year of high school and getting a D or an F in math, and just what that would feel like for like 50% of a class to get that grade or even higher. And so I think from the board perspective, at least from my perspective, I think we're willing to be really creative in what we do to make sure that our students are having a good experience. Like they have to be here with us, and as much as we can support them. And I was someone who excelled in math, and I kind of never thought I would really question the system that we have, but just the number of D's and F's that we've given has kind of caused me to question, is this even the right thing? Like, what are we doing? Are we in this process that isn't even really necessary for most students? Like, what is broken there that we are kind of allowing these students to fail, like right when they're starting school? And I know that you've done a ton of work on this. I'm just kind of making the broader point of concerns that we've had over time. So it's really great to see the improvement. And I think that we as a board want to support you in making this even better as we go forward. Like, let's do everything we can to make sure that our students are being supported, and also that, that the grading is standards-based, that just anything that we can work out that maybe isn't directly related to them understanding the concepts, that we're just being as fair to our students as we can be.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Stephanie. To kind of reiterate her point, I was the opposite of Stephanie. I didn't get great marks in math. I got A's in geometry, and algebra I struggled with, as I mentioned before. So I really like the fact that you guys, the whole group of everybody involved, has really worked hard to make adjustments and progress. I'm still personally not sure that I'm 100% sold on the integrated part of it. Just case in point, when I was in school, in high school, I was not a dumb kid, but I just couldn't grasp algebra. It just at a certain point in my life, it wasn't working for me. My dad had his best math teachers work with me. It just wasn't clicking yet. And I've never been one who's had too many problems with self-esteem, but it does hurt when you're going like, what's wrong with me when something's not clicking? All the other kids are getting it, but you're not getting it. And yet in geometry, I was getting A's and I'm teaching everybody else how to do it. In college, I'm getting A's in all my high level, 300 and 400 level finance classes. But algebra was still one of those things that I had trouble with until literally my junior year in college. So,
Well, Rich, I have a presentation for you.
so all I'm saying is I really appreciate a ton. I know, Brian, that we've talked about this before, and that you have a big heart and you really want to help solve this problem for a lot of the kids. And I really appreciate it, and everyone else involved too. It's just that this one subject of math is a little bit dear to me because I don't want kids to feel like they're not being successful in it. And we're finding ways, and you guys are finding ways for us. Obviously, the numbers are getting better, so we're having good results. Maybe the next step, if it needs to even have another step, the integration part of it, maybe not. But I really love the fact that we've made great progress and we're making progress and everyone's focusing on it. And I appreciate it a lot.
Well, here's our proposal to address some of your concerns. So we're
Before we
actually,
go there, let's let President Carnation announce the next agenda item.
Oh,
So we know where we are
Yeah.
officially.
thank you. Actually, so before we
Before you go to them, come back to me.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, I didn't know you had
I would have shown you my face under my
remember
mask.
we had a deal. You're supposed to hit me.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a point following up on Malinelli's comment and your response, Director Saxon, that if a bridge in summer school, and it's about recruiting and it's a finance issue and resources be put to it, please, develop that and let us know what that might look like. Because I think building on this success, if a summer school component to do that bridge between years, bears fruit, and that means it has to have a certain number of students and a cost benefit analysis. But certainly, it would seem to me, as for one trustee, that that's momentum that may be a very good investment. So I didn't want to have that not before you get to what the answer is here, to leave that unsaid. So thank you.
All right.
I think I was public.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Bill. I just want to say I second that. So thank you.
Very good. Okay, so Brian, give me 1 second. So on this issue of 5.1, I want to take it out to the public. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address 5.1? And then we're also going to have 6.1, but Stacy, come on.
All right. My question is, which math does it take to get into a UC school? Math 1, Math 2, Math 3?
Math 3.
So you have to have a Math 3 to get into a UC school. So every child who goes into Math 1, which means every child at Cali, if they don't get out of Math 1, they will not be able to get into a UC school. Is that what that means?
No,
No.
How does that work? So Math 1 is just freshman year?
correct.
Okay, so then you go to Math 2, which is the next year. Okay, good, because I was trying to understand, like, what does that mean?
Do me a favor, just so everybody get home, to just talk in the
Okay.
microphone.
No, I was just trying to understand, what does that mean to make sure that your child, regardless of where they enter in ninth grade, can graduate Windsor High School and have the qualifications to get into a UC school?
So the counselors are meeting with incoming freshmen
Yeah.
and creating 4-year plans. So establishing upfront, if a student is on the A to G track, how to make sure that all of those course requirements are met prior to graduation.
Perfect. Okay, because I'm like, whoa, if we're admitting, if we're having a whole school going to Math 1, where does that put these students trying to get to a UC school?
That's a good question.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then I had one more suggestion on how to get, I think that Mr. Williams was talking about how to improve now, like he's doing such a great job with those statistics, like that was great. My thought is, why not start in Brooks? Why not start in, third grade? because I have a story. One of my children recently started tutoring, and they were assessed, and they were barely clinging by their fingernails to their grade that they are in. Less than 3 tutoring sessions, they're soaring. And I don't know what contributes to that, or maybe it's the one-on-one learning. That's probably what it was, the one-on-one learning to figure out how the child learns the best. But that's my thought in getting these kids who are a minority group, which some of those statistics, I don't understand why we take them. Some of those statistics, I'm confused on why we even record them. But if there is a minority group who has data that shows that this group of people always go into this level, then maybe there needs to be something that changes, maybe a little more one-on-one. I know that's really hard. I don't know if that can even happen, but I can just tell you from personal experience, it has changed my child's life.
Thanks, Stacy. Is there any other parents who want? Oh.
This is just a quick kudos to Mr. Williams. My son was in 8th grade at the middle school, and he was having a really hard time with his math. He was in advanced math. I forget the name of it. But anyways, I had a meeting with Mr. Williams, and he said, I said, I think I need to pull him out. I need to bump him down. Mr. Williams said, absolutely not. If you want him to fail, you want him to fail here, not at the high school. So I kept him. He passed, and now he's taking like trigonometry or pre-calculus or something in 10th grade. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from anybody? All right, bring it back to the board, any follow-up comments? All righty, so 5.1 is finished. We're going to move to 6.1. Lisa, you're going to do that? Okay.
So now we will transition after all of that data analysis to a proposal regarding math graduation requirements for Windsor High School students.
All right, we are very excited. This is a lot of work that's gone over with Director Saxon and our math department. So here, one of our startling statistics is only about 35% of our seniors over the last 4 years have met the A through G requirement, which requires students to have a minimum of 3 years of math and have passed Math 3 with a grade of C or better. And so we have worked to increase that number by exceeding the minimum standards by what California says the minimum standard is Math 1. And Windsor Unified has said, well, we're going to say, well, Math 2 is the highest math that you need with a D or higher to graduate. Now, this has had some unintended repercussions. One is the number of times that students have had to pass Math 1 or take Math 1 in order to pass it with a C or better. They take it as a freshman, they don't pass it. They have to take it again as a sophomore. They don't pass it. They do pass it. They move them into Math 2 as a junior. They don't pass it. We had 37 seniors sitting in Math 2 just hoping that they're able to graduate because of this requirement. And then some of the students who are not prepared for Math 3 because everybody's going into Math 2, which doesn't allow to have kind of this really robust Math 2 class to move them up to Math 3. And we have hesitated by saying, oh, well, you're in Math 2 honors and you're in Math 2 regular. Everyone was taking the same course. And then, of course, if you have only a 2-year math requirement, juniors take their SBAC, their state testing, in their 3rd year. And many of them will not take a 3rd year of math because they've already met the requirement. And so they are going to be very rusty in being able to take math. And a lot of times those SBAC scores can be used to help you in college placement. So the current requirement, as we said, is 2 years of math with the highest level being Math 2. The California requirement is 2 years of math with the highest level being equivalent to Math 1. So we looked at those requirements. We've had meetings with Director Saxon, with the superintendent, with the counseling team, with the math department, and we worked together to get our recommendations for the board. So we looked at our A through G completion rate, We looked at our 11th grade SBAC scores, and we also looked at the number of seniors who are in Math 2 at risk of not graduating. So we're actually going to recommend kind of a blending, is that we change the graduation requirement to 3 years of math, but keeping the minimum graduation rate at Math 1. And I'm going to talk about what do those progressions look like. That doesn't stop students from coming in and finishing with pre-calc and calc and all of that. So it does not impact, it only impacts students who were struggling with trying to get through Math 2. And then we're going to talk about the different offerings that we'll be providing to get them those additional years of math. So we have kind of these equivalents of the pre-Math 1 courses, Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, and then you move into your trig and beyond courses. I talked a little bit about those ninth grade placement protocols, and just go on, but I'll say it anyway. So I may have misspoke. When we moved Cali, we didn't look at their placement for pre-Math 1. We moved them all into Math 1, which is the traditional ninth grade class, which absolutely keeps them on track to being able to finish Math 3 by their junior year. So we look at all of these criteria, which are outlined in board policy. And so you can kind of look to see the progressions that we're imagining. So we can look starting at pre-Math 1. If you finished out that third year, as your junior or senior, we want to start connecting some of those math courses with our cores. So consumer math or business math goes really well with like our Vineyard Academy. Computer science goes really well with our Arte. Construction math goes really well with Build. Looking at our stats class, our AP stats class can go really well with our AP core. So kind of having different flavors of math in that third year. The UC is now allowing computer science and computer science and stats to count as that third year of math. So that's going to increase the number of students who are going to be A through G compliant, because now stats and computer science can be more accessible than maybe a Math 3. Is there any questions about these progressions? So we've given a 3-year progression and 4-year progression, and you can see no matter what progression, you do have the ability to finish with a Math 3 or higher class by your senior year. Now, the recommendations from implementation. California has already waived many of the requirements, with their different legislations, and this board has also waived the Math 2 requirement, I believe, over the last 2 years. So what we're recommending is to phase this in, is that all the freshmen starting next year will be bound by this new 3-year requirement. But then sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they will have the choice to either complete 3 years of math, or with the highest level being Math 1, or 2 years of math with the highest level of being Math 2. And so then everyone can kind of phase out through that process. They'll still meet the California requirement. We're still honoring what we told them when they came in as freshmen a year ago, but we're also giving an out for those students who will not necessarily be successful in Math 2. So all the pre-Math 1 kids will go into Math 1 next year, and then could be in construction math or could be in stats for their third year, and then so they'll be successful. So the impact, we will think, okay, well, we're going from 2 years of math to 3 years. Is there going to be a financial impact? Well, because of the high failure rate in Math 1, with those students, 40% of them having to take the courses over again, you're not going to see that financial impact because they were taking 3 years of math already. And so what we're really doing is giving them a better pathway to be more successful in their math offerings, and for some of the students to get math that's going to be closer connected to their careers. But this in no way impacts students' ability to make the A through G or to take the advanced math courses. Is there any questions about that? And then I brought the receipts if you have questions.
So Brian, I do have a question. So we have 10%-ish, which is a great percentage from 40, getting Ds and Fs. D- is a pass, right? So maybe let's say 5% get Fs. What do we do with those students who just can't make it to the finish line successfully with something better than an F in Math 1. And they would have a 3-year requirement of some math, and Math 1 being part of that. Do we do summer school? Do we do pull-out tutoring, Odyssey? What would be the craft? Because it seems to me for those going, because when they take it and don't pass, it doesn't count. What do we do? Not that the policy should be driven by that small number of students, but would that what would be the solution for that to help them get over that one? I'll call it sort of, read and write and arithmetic, integrated math, and they can kind of get to one of those specialty or crafted ones, and they get that out of their way. What do we do for that small subset?
Sure. So we know that this year, no freshmen failed. So they're all going to be able to move on.
Great.
Some of the sophomores did, and we're going to have to continue to work with them because they have to finish Math 1. So the plan is that we try to be really selective about who we went into pre-Math 1. We know how they're doing. We will place them in appropriate classes next year that will have a support partner teacher working with those classes, and we will drag them across the finish line.
Outstanding.
We will get them through Math 1.
Good. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you explain a little bit more what you mean by drag them across the finish line?
They will do their math in my office. We will get them graduated.
I like it.
So I was really stressing out about this in December, and I was like, how are we going to fix this? And you came with a solution that's ready and really good. I hope that we get the grading to align so that we don't have the issue that Bill's talking about, but it sounds like that's all part of the plan. So I just want to say thank you for putting this together. It looks great.
Well, I'm taking credit for Director Saxton's work. This all happened years ago, which is kind of what I do. It's kind of my thing. This all happened years ago with her work with the TOSAs and the standards-based grading work, and getting math is the farthest department along in being able to do that. And it really shows the impact that you can have when you look at your grading practices and you focus on mastery level learning, and not so much on percent of work completed and turned in. So thank you.
I will give that credit up actually to the TOSAs who did the heavy lifting with their peers in aligning curriculum, creating mastery standard, pacing guides so that students were mastering the standards necessary in the course that they were actually in, creating common assessments and helping teachers get their grading practices aligned, not only with standards, but with each other, so that it didn't matter which course a student was enrolled in, an A was an A was an A, et cetera. And so it is really to their credit and their heavy lifting and hard work behind the scenes that all of this has come to fruition.
I would also like to add that I believe that the team teaching model is really working. So that's a definite plus.
Yeah, Lisa kind of stole my thunder a bit. I was going to have it trickle down a bit. As a classroom teacher, it's easy to just do things the same way year after year after year. And it's extremely difficult to have that old dog not learn new tricks. And so when we ask the teachers to go above and beyond after school, weekends, working together, losing your prep time where you can do grading and planning because you need to get things right the first time, that's a huge ask. And it shows the investment our teachers have. And we should all be proud of the teachers in the classrooms that are not just working with the kids, but are working with each other at the highest level. And that's hard to do because we all have our own thing, the way we like to do it. And to kind of throw that out and start over fresh and say, we're going to teach it differently and we're going to assess it and grade it differently. That's not an easy ask. And our staff, in my opinion, I haven't talked to all of them, but they've all taken the deep dive and have done the hard work. And the numbers are showing that, you can't just say, well, homework's worth 80% anymore because the kids that don't do homework are going to fail. But by seeing that the kids know the material because they've spent extra time in class or they've had tutoring together or they've worked separately in support classes and such, and then assessing them on what they do understand, not on what the busy work was at home, that's a hard ask because it never was that way before. And so I'm proud of everybody involved and your leadership, Brian, and Lisa as well, of course. But it's trending the positive direction. That's obvious, and we're proud of all that, or at least I am. So thank you.
And just to kind of wrap it up, again, I appreciate all of your efforts on this, especially this on math. And the reason why is so many people need these basic math skills, like even the consumer math. When they leave our school, eventually they want to buy a house. They want to get a car. They want to do these different things. If they don't understand some of these small interplays with math, they don't necessarily understand that getting a used car loan at 25% interest is a terrible thing when they just are kind of looking at the payment because they haven't learned how to figure out what the interest rate, what the real value of that money is. Same thing with buying a house. What does that interest rate mean? What does the period of time? All those different things that factor in. And so if we're able to bridge that little bitty gap of the understanding of some of these things, we will generationally change so many lives with our kids, specifically because of these certain math skills that they can master here, that I know that every kid can understand. The truth of the matter is, I did have some really good tutors, and none of them helped me out. My dad had his best. His best one said, Joe, Richard ain't going to get it with the algebra. And then Mr. Giddings, another teacher, explained algebra to me, and he used money to explain it to me. And wow, I got it. And so to one parent who said something about how their kid all of a sudden, it was Stacy, I think, with a tutor one, you never know what it's going to be with that kid. But I love the fact that we're doing something. We're not just taking the status quo. We're not just going, well, that's just kind of how it is, and we're just going along. I love the fact that we're trying to be excellent in it for all of our kids, and I appreciate everybody's effort to make that happen. And with that said, is there anyone in the public that would like to address this issue that hasn't already? Okay, bring it back to the board. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion to approve this?
Also move.
Stephanie made it first. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Malinelli seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. All right, 5-0 plus 1.
Can I ask one clarifying question? As I was listening and recalling the proposal and how it's been presented to you this evening, I know it's agendized as an action item, but I'm wondering if we really need to, with the waiver portion, get it in a resolution format and have you approve that so it's a little bit more officially documented? I'm sorry? For the waiver part? Because that's only 3 years. Oh, the graduation requirement change, for sure. Yes, that will come to you for sure. But we wanted to get this piece, yes.
Okay, so do I need to do another, make a resolution motion right now?
No, you will.
Next time, okay.
We can go with your I'm going to call this a conceptual approval tonight. And then what I will bring back to you is a resolution to entertain the 3 waiver years that we talked about. And then the board policy itself around Windsor Unified graduation requirements just for the math portion and just for Windsor High School students. Does that make sense?
We voted to give approval for you to move forward with the plan, and you will present it to us again in a resolution.
Perfect.
Eric
Thank
said it
you.
great. All right.
Once in a while.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to 6.2, consideration of acceptance of the 2020-2021 audit report. This is going to be presented to us by Sarah. Making her way up to the...
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Sarah Palafox, and I'm a director with Christy White, and it's my pleasure to be here this evening to present the audit report for the year ended June 30, 2021. So I do have a few pages of the audit report that I would like to highlight, and if you have your report in front of you and you'd like to follow along, feel free to do so. I'm going to begin at page 75 of the audit report. This page is very helpful to provide a summary of our auditor's results. It provides a summary of each of the opinions that we're issuing for the district and noting if there were any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. So I'll start with, we kind of call it our big, yeah, go ahead.
I was a little bit late to get to the computer. Which exhibit? The final report or the audit certification?
The audit report.
Okay.
And I'm getting started on page 75.
All righty. Got it. I'm just trying to figure out how to do Eric's computer here. Okay, we're skipping down to page 75 if you know how to get there quicker. All right,
All
you can go
right.
ahead.
Sure.
Thanks.
So on page 75, this, as I mentioned, presents a summary of the opinions we're issuing for the district. Our significant opinion that we issue is our independent auditor's report, and this covers the financial statements. So you'll see we've issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, and an unmodified opinion is a clean opinion or the best opinion that can be issued. We noted no material weaknesses nor any significant deficiencies over the financial statements. Our federal award opinion that we issued is unmodified as well. We noted no material weaknesses nor any significant deficiencies. And to reach our federal awards opinion, we tested 3 of the federal programs that are operated within the district. This includes the Education Stabilization Fund, discretionary grants, Child Nutrition Cluster, and the Coronavirus Relief Funds. We also issue an opinion on state awards, to which we issued an unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses. However, there is one significant deficiency, and I'll review that in the audit finding. Following page 75, we have our financial statement findings, and you'll see that there were no financial statement findings.
It's actually in our document, it's page 83.
Oh,
So your numbers don't jive with what was presented to us, but it's okay as long as we know where to look.
sure. My apologies for that.
We audited your page number.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, stop.
On the federal award finding page, we noted that there were no federal award findings. And for state awards, we did note one finding for this year, for the year 2020-21, and there was a finding over the comprehensive school safety plan. We noted that the plans for the schools were prepared and approved. However, they were approved by the board after the March 1st deadline. So we've noted that here, and we recommend that those plans are approved before March 1st of each year, and we expect that the district will correct that in the coming year. On the next page is the summary of prior year audit findings. So we do report on if prior year findings were corrected. In the prior year, 2019-20, there was a finding related to the ASB, and I'm pleased to announce that that was corrected and implemented. So there's not an ASB finding going forward in the 2021 year. And to conclude my presentation, I just would like to extend our gratitude to the district's management and their assistance in the audit process. We find district management to be very helpful during the audit process, very transparent, and I find that noteworthy to present to the board. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Does anybody have any comments?
No,
Sorry,
not really. I
questions?
just wanted to say thank you for coming and presenting. The report looks good. We're glad that everything looks good on our end. Great.
And I've sat here for a number of years for these audits, Sarah, and I think this might be the very first one where our ASB, which is the student body funds, which is everything from bake sales to fundraising for field trips and everything in between, didn't have a lingering cash receipt, and it's not the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And so thank you for that. I think if we start tightening up, and appreciate your highlighting that, because I know in auditing schools, that's always an issue. And thank you. It's a very good report, good presentation.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely worth noting in our work with the district, they've taken great measures to correct those ASB findings. And I think that just shows all the work that the district office does, and the sites, of course, do to correct that.
All righty. If you want to hang out for a second, I'd like to go out to the audience. Is there any questions on this item? Anybody? Nope. Okay, I'll bring it back. Anybody like to make a motion to accept these findings?
I'll move to accept the 2020-2021 audit report as presented.
All righty. May the 1st. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
And then Melanie. All righty, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, passes 5-0 plus 1. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Oh. I'll go to 6.4, consideration of approval of resolution 2022-09, approving, am I in the wrong?
6.3?
Oh, sorry.
Does Sarah need to come back?
I don't think so.
No, Austin.
All right, 6.3, sorry, I turned the page too quick. Consideration of acceptance of the 2021 audit findings and recommendation certification of corrective actions. This will be presented by Austin.
I don't have much to present on this, but I do want to say hi to Sarah. I've talked to her a few times on the phone, but I haven't met her in person. So it's good to see you, Sarah. So we had one audit finding last year, and I will tell you from a third-party perspective, because obviously I wasn't here last year. When I went into my prior district, there was 11 audit findings in the previous year. So it's really nice for me to come here, and there's not many material weaknesses. You know, there's no significant deficiencies. So it's wonderful. But so the prior audit finding, the district's response to that audit finding was to set up a proper calendar, because this is more of an audit finding that's identified in ed code that needs to be done every year. And it's just staying organized and being on top of it. So for us, it was creating a district master calendar, making sure that we're up to date on all of the items and getting them updated to you guys as, you know, when we're supposed to.
All righty. Is there any discussion amongst board members? Anybody in the audience that would like to address this issue? Not seeing it. Okay, I'll bring it back. Can we have a motion to approve this?
I'll move to approve.
All right, Stephanie. Can I have a second?
I'll make the second motion.
All right, second by Eric. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? All righty, it's 5-0 plus 1. All right, now we're moving to 6.4. All right, consideration of approval of resolution 2022-09, approving the total base rent for the leaseback agreement with Arntz Builders for the Cali Calmeck Language Academy 14 new classroom project. This is also going to be presented by Austin.
I'm actually going to pull up Brian Cameron from Van Pelt Construction up to the podium. Thanks, Brian.
Good afternoon, board members and Superintendent Nelson. So back in October, we approved the use of the leaseback with Arntz Builders for the Cali Calmeck portable replacement project. Since then, we've been meeting regularly to go over constructability, pre-construction items, and just meeting with Sharon in the site and going over the fencing and laydown areas. So using this contract, we've been able to work out a lot of issues ahead of time. So after working on that for a while, we were ready to bid out the temporary housing phase, which includes installing 12 portable classroom buildings on the field while we do the construction on the new 2-story building. So what we're approving here today is the bid for increment 1. We reached out to pre-qualified subcontractors in the area and received comparable pricing. We tried to get at least 3 different quotes from each contractor. The contractor did a good job of breaking those quotes out. We reviewed them with the superintendent and the CBO. And we decided to include a 5% contingency in the total base rent. Any of that money that's not used will be credited back to the district once the project is completed. And with the leaseback, we also included a financing, which is required by Ed Code 17406. So we'll hold 5% on the total payment until the project is completed, and then pay that back over time with a small annual interest. So overall, after we get this approved, we'll start working on increment 2. We're waiting for DSA approval, which hopefully we'll get in March. And then we'll bid that project out and do another resolution for the total base rent.
Brian, if you could, it took me a long time to figure out and understand
Uh-huh.
what leaseback meant. Could
Uh-huh.
you give us just like a layman's term, 10-second description of what that
Yeah,
means?
so pretty much it's a contracting method which allows you to contract with a contractor before the project is approved by DSA. Within this type of contract, you have pre-construction, and then you do your total base rent, which requires you to hold that financing option, which I discussed. So it's pretty much more of a collaborative method to bid projects out with a contractor. We previously went through the RFP for the leaseback, which included a point system based on previous projects, an interview, and their proposal with their percent fee.
Just for the boards, because I'm a contractor, we prefer leasebacks. I like them.
Yeah.
I think the ultimate recipient gets a much, much better deal because they get a lot of expertise. They get a lot of free information and advice from contractors on how to build things, the most current ways to build things. A lot of times, a lot of the costs are certain equipment and things that are spec'd in. And sometimes there are better options that are less expensive that contractors will bring to the table when they come up with their different things. Anyhow, it's almost, I haven't heard of a negative from the leaseback. I think it's a really nice option. And just as a board, I think anytime we can get into those type of situations, I think it benefits all of us. So whoever it is.
And just as kind of an aside, before we vote and do our roll call, how is the plan for construction and relocation and stuff? Are we on track? Are we on time? How's that?
Yeah,
look?
we're still on schedule. The plan is to get these portables set up before the end of school. So when school's out for summer, we'll move the teachers into the temp housing and then begin the demolition on those existing portables. So yeah, so far so good. Yeah.
Thank you.
All righty. If you can hang on for a second, Brian. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk about this issue, this topic? Okay, not. Come back to the board. We need to make, I need to get a motion to accept this. I mean, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve this item. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Stephanie will accept. Okay, and this is a resolution, so we need to have a roll call, Jen.
Rich Carnation,
Aye.
Bill Adams.
Aye.
Stephanie Ahmad,
Aye.
Eric Heights.
Yes.
Melanoli Lopez. Student Board Member Kay Heflin.
Aye.
All righty, very good. Thanks, Eric. I mean, Brian. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks for the microphone. All righty. 6.5, consideration of possible action on resolution 2022-10 on certificated reduction in force 4.133 FTE layoffs. This item will be presented by the board by Chris Meredith, Director of HR.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. What you have before you is the district recommendation to reduce particular kinds of service and reduction in force. Sorry, this is kind of echoing. Would you guys like me to go up to the podium? Is that easier? Okay, how's that? Can you guys hear me? Okay. So the district diligently analyzes enrollment projections, student interests, changes in curriculum, and instruction objectives to determine staffing needs. What you have before you is a recommendation to eliminate 4.333 or 4.133 FTE for 1.0 multiple subjects elementary, 1.0 fine arts, which would be 0.5 digital photography and 0.5 art. The equivalent of 0.33 FTE in career and technical education, arts, media, and entertainment. 0.167 of that would be integrated film and 0.167 would be film studies. The recommendation also includes 0.8 FTE Dean of Students and 1.0 FTE Independent Study Teacher. I'll open it up for any questions.
Anybody on the board? All right, don't see any right now. If you hang.
I'll just reserve my comments for the board deliberation. I think I'd like to hear any public comment. I think we have some staff that are here, and then we can bring it back to the board for our discussion and deliberation.
Sounds good.
Understood.
So you hang on, Chris. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? I think everybody heard earlier.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Melissa Jones. I'm actually the sequential visual fine arts teacher at Windsor High. I teach the Art 1, the Art 2, the Art 3, and the Advanced Placement program. I'm also the department rep, and I have been for the last 2 years. I'm here as more of an advocate and to protect the arts program at the high school. I know we wrote a strategic arts plan, and actually one of the board members actually helped write that plan, and that is to protect and to keep the arts implemented in school. And that the strategic arts plan is on our district website, and it has all of the criteria that we need to meet to make sure that the arts are getting, all the kids are getting access. So there's visual and performing arts, VAPA. Visual arts is different from performing arts, and they're not interchangeable. Okay, you can't take a drawing student and put them in a guitar class. It's not the same thing. It's incredibly different. So I wanted to make sure that that was underlined and understood. We won in my department. I'm here for my department. They made me come, but this is our award, and they wanted me to bring it and show you. We won this super fancy pants award from the California Department of Education. It's called the California Exemplary Award because of our equitable and accessible access to the arts at the high school. And if we want to be really careful when we make these fluid decisions, broad sweeping fluid decisions about how it affects the future. Because what happens is 2 years down the road, you cut a bunch of visual fine art classes. They're not going into the sequential program because there isn't enough students. Kai's my AP student. He's doing his concentration on trees. There isn't enough kids having exposure to the arts to go in the sequential program. So that changes the future path. I'm asking that we be really mindful of the decisions we're doing with the art at the high school level. I want you to be really mindful, and I would like, to make sure that we're talking to people that are in art education, that are experts in art education, and actually can help make these decisions rather than just without the proper understanding of what we have, our district has written and advocated for over the last many years. See if I have one more point and then I'll stop talking. But if you guys want to look at this board, here it is. So, you guys want to see it? I don't feel brought into my room. So. Okay. Have a couple other things I want to say, and then I'm going to try and hurry up, so I know I only have 3 minutes. So one of the things that I keep hearing is money, career, college, career. I'm telling you, that's really important. But man, the arts fulfill so much more than that. On such a deeper human level, on such a learning level that is beyond the mighty dollar. It is bigger than that. It is deeper than that. So for me, I understand we have to make cuts for the raises. I totally get that. I'm actually on the negotiating team. I know the pain, man. I know it. But we've got to think about how we're gonna get these students to get all the access of what the arts bring, not on a mighty dollar level, but on a human level, as people who are creative. We're born creative, and I just want to make sure we're protecting those things in our district that we stand for, that we won the award for, that we are getting noticed for. I want to make sure that we're all advocating for that and making sure we don't just get caught up in the charts and the dollars and the data, but that we remember the human reasons for making art, right? So there's a lot of other reasons besides going into a career that students want to make art. The anxiety and stress reduction, massive. SEL, massive, right? Art making can help us get over sadness, massive, right? Mindfulness, drawing can help us focus. Turning our problems into narratives can help us work through them. Visual language is universal. It crosses over races and culture. Pictures and visual imagery has it's completely universal. It's so powerful, especially for our EL students. Incredibly powerful. They understand pictures.
Alyssa,
This is my time.
if you could just.
Okay, I have
you do-
two more
wait,
things.
Go ahead.
Connecting creativity creates pathways in the brain and creates expansion in the brain and expression and meaning. They're all really important. And when we make these big decisions, I just want to remember what we stand for. So thank you so much. I'm sorry I went over my time. I don't really talk this much, but I'm talking a lot.
No, you did great.
Introvert being an extrovert. Okay. So is my trophy around? I need it.
It's
Who's got my trophy?
it's got all our fingerprints on it now. Great.
Okay, I practiced, so I should be right around 3 minutes here. Anyway, my name's Eric Hunter. Thank you for letting me have the opportunity to speak today. I'm the 1.0 at Windsor High, the fine arts position. I teach, well, I'm going to read from this, otherwise I'll ramble. My name's Eric Hunter, and my position as fine arts teacher at Windsor High School will be eliminated with passage of Resolution 2022-10. This cut will result not only in the loss of my position at Windsor High School, but also to some degree gutting of Windsor High School's award-winning arts education program. It's my 4th year teaching at Windsor High, and I have been a teacher for almost 24 years. Since joining Windsor, I've devoted myself to growing the visual arts section of the Arts, Media, Entertainment, or AME, CTE program, and to connecting our students with the wider Sonoma County community. These actions support the board's own goals. Last year, Windsor High was selected to receive that thing there, an exemplary arts education award from California Department of Education. We were one of only 33 schools out of almost 1,400 in the state to receive this award, and the only one in Sonoma County. To even be eligible, schools need to provide an arts education that meets standards while also demonstrating progress on indicators in the California School Dashboard. As you can see, earning this award required a significant dedication to not only the arts, but also the overall success of our students. The Exemplary Arts Education Award was proof of our commitment to an equitable art education at Windsor High, even in the midst of a pandemic. One of the keys to Windsor High's excellence in art education is the MECT program, visual arts, including digital photography. The other half of my job, I teach Art 1, 3 sections, and digital photography, 3 sections, are an integral part of this program. Students who participate in the CTE pathway programs are more likely to meet college and career readiness goals, have higher graduation rates, stay in school, and succeed in college. If our goal is to see students succeed in work and life, why are we considering cutting even one section from a CTE program? At Windsor, we actively seek opportunities for our students to connect with their communities. Last year, for example, I collaborated with Santa Rosa Junior College and ArtQuest to develop a countywide photography competition titled SoCo Clicks. Winners had their work shown online and in person at the Museum of Sonoma County, and the event was covered by the Press Democrat. This year's competition just opened to entries this week. One of the first place winners last year was one of our seniors, Ben Kavame, won the first prize in the alternative methods category. And had his work displayed at the Sonoma County Museum. This year, I've been working to align our digital photography curriculum with SRJC's, which will allow Windsor High School students to receive college credit for digital photography courses taken at the high school, better preparing them for college and reducing the economic toll of the college education. Lastly, I've been collaborating with Windsor High staff and district staff to bring our digital photography technology to parity with other programs in the area. This is desperately needed. We are developing plans for both an initial investment and ongoing funds so that Windsor can maintain equipment that is current and relevant. Ongoing funding will be available to us because of our AME CTE program. I hope I got personal skin in the game here. I hope that you'll reconsider the impact that this resolution will have on the students at Windsor High and on the school's reputation in the county and the state. And thank you for your time. Much
Thanks, Eric.
appreciated.
Hi, thanks for allowing me to speak. My name is Danielle Feldman, and I'm here today also urging you not to accept this proposed resolution. I will disclose that Eric Hunter is my father, so I do have some bias in this, admittedly. But the reason I'm speaking tonight is as a certified health education specialist and as a resident of Sonoma County. And I know that the Windsor students come from more than just the town of Windsor, so it's important to all of Sonoma County. My own background is in biology at Cal and public health at Johns Hopkins, and I was raised by a family of artists, so I'm very familiar with the importance of art education to success in every discipline. So I want you to try something for me really quickly. Think of public health. Okay? What did you think of? Was it COVID, AIDS, hospitals? Did any of you really think of art? Most people don't realize it, but art is actually an important part of public health, particularly in 5 key areas: collective trauma, racism, mental health, social exclusion and isolation, and chronic disease. These areas are absolutely critical to the development of healthy adults and are all stark problems within the Windsor High School student population, as any parent or teacher will tell you. Even when art is considered public health, it is generally viewed in its position to convey information, such as photographs showing the risk of smoking. It is often overlooked as a way to actually create health. However, making art actually provides students with a therapeutic outlet for their emotions without the stigma of receiving formal mental health care. Drawing, painting, and photography require students to slow down and really see the world outside of themselves. This creates a mindfulness that can spread to other areas of their life. It necessitates that the world they're used to seeing in one way be interpreted in a new way. As they do so, new neural pathways are laid down to help replace the patterns that had reinforced depression and anxiety, and reductions in depression and anxiety can reduce school violence, disruptive behavior, and poor attendance. Art that's made in communities, such as murals or quilts, reduces isolation and increases communication skills. It helps students understand that the view through their own eyes and mind is only one of many ways to understand. These students grow to be more successful in everything from business to medicine to public service. The state superintendent has even spoken about the role of art in mental health, saying that arts education, quote, plays a powerful role in supporting wellness, bridging social divides, expanding creativity, and critical thinking in our students. Public health is a concept that nobody notices until something goes wrong. Be honest, before the pandemic, how many of us actually knew about the country's shortage of N95 respirators? Right now, students at Windsor High have an extensive and accessible arts program. We should be building that resource, not taking it away from our children. So at this point, you might be thinking, but Windsor High is still going to offer lots of arts classes. We're not actually cutting classes, we're cutting teachers. The plan, however, calls for actually cutting multiple sections in the visual arts. Students will instead be funneled into classes such as dance and music. And while I do agree that the same benefits can be gleaned from dance and music and that they all fall under arts education, they're simply not interchangeable. Let's be honest, football and ballet are both in physical education, but we don't put the ballerinas on the football team just to fill the roster. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anybody else from the audience? Okay, since this is a discussion item, I just want to, what? Oh, I'm sorry, but we can discuss it too. Oh, yeah. I just want to clarify, I loved your last point, except for it was backwards, because my mom made me take ballet if I was going to play football, because she read an article that one of the professional guys was a really good football player because he took ballet. And so she made me do it, and I took ballet for like 4 years. Helped my wrestling. The truth of the matter, full disclosure, almost all the ballerinas were very pretty, so it wasn't too much of a sacrifice. Yes, thank you, Bill. So, Eric, you had a comment.
Yeah, so we had a, not to break protocol on the Brown Act and such, but we did have a rationale and presentation during closed session on this situation. And I realized personally that we need to have some kind of a workshop potentially to discuss this issue as well as other things that are part of our 5-year VAPA plan that was initiated in 2018. And so I'll just throw it out there. I would propose to suspend this until the next meeting. And in the interim, we should have that VAPA meeting or that discussion on staffing and such. Since we're already put off item 422, which is the personnel assignment order, I think we will have a chance to, at the next meeting before March 15th, we have a meeting on the 10th. And so that would give us time to allow for personnel changes in the interim. So I'll ask if there's any other support for that idea.
So I support that.
Okay.
Is that okay if I go?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask Kai because we always go first. And this is kind of he was brought up earlier by somebody. And I kind of wanted to get Kai's thoughts on this before we went more of us with the board. Wanted to kind of.
Yeah, I think I'd actually have to agree with Eric about further discussing this more because with the arts program that we have here at the high school, and I've been in Art 1, Art 2, Art 3, and I'm in AP Art Studio with Miss Jones throughout the 4 years of my at Windsor High School. And I think that we know with the other arts classes, even though that I haven't been in those, but I think that they are quite important. And I know that the teachers are also adding to the success of those students as well. And I believe that having a workshop and coming down with a decision as a board would definitely work. And I think that would be one of the options here to go for. Thank you.
Thanks, Kai. Mel.
So I just wanted to say that I support, what is being said about having a future study session or just to study this issue more. And I wanted to say that for the reason that I do think that we need to honor our VAPA. And also that I think that we need to look in other areas, taking into account all of the public comments tonight. I do think that we need to look to other areas, to offer cost-cutting measures. Like I really don't think that art and the performing arts is a place to cut. I really don't. So I feel really strongly that we need to revisit VAPA and come up with other areas where we can make budget cuts.
Thanks, Melanie.
Right. Well, thank you for the comments. I think that was helpful. I want to hear more from Bill and Rich. I know, Bill, I think you tend to speak for VAPA for the board, or at least it's a passion area for you. So I'm very interested in what you have to say because you were involved in the process. I'm not exactly sure what my position is yet. I want to hear more because I know we have this proposal and it's been presented to us as being targeted, as not eliminating any programs. I get the kind of trickle up effect of if you reduce the size of, the Art 1 program, are you getting the same number of students? Do you ultimately end up killing the program? That's a serious concern. So I wonder, what I want to figure out and what I'm trying to figure out is, can we do this because we are trying at the same time and we can't really talk about this here, but we have negotiations ongoing and we want that to go well too. So is this something that would be okay? And then we have the study session and then because we also, I should say, I think last week we met and talked about the LCAP. Was that only a week ago? And we have a lot of plans to integrate art and really be more detailed about integrating our whole art program into the LCAP and capturing everything we're doing and really tracking it in a way that we haven't before so that we can really see that as part of our district plan. So I'm not sure yet where I stand on whether we could do this and then do the study session later and then kind of ensure that we're protecting this program.
Can I just also just give you guys a few other things to think about with regard to our recommendation? You're looking at the enrollment, you're looking at grade level enrollment, class sizes, and when you build a master schedule, sometimes the number of sections that you need change from year to year. So this would not be an elimination of any program. We would still be offering 24 sections of fine art options for next year. The film studies classes would then be integrated into other classes, so students could still learn those skills, those standards. And then potentially, if there are interests when we do the course presentations and the course request opportunities for students build their 4-year plans, that gives us a better idea for future master schedule offerings. And it's very challenging when you're building that schedule. You have to look at your overall FTE allocation, first and foremost, the needs of your students with regard to all of the different graduation tracks. So I feel confident that we would still be able to, meet our goals with regard to the arts and what we've set out to do in this district, as well as provide students opportunities to continue taking these courses, despite the reduction. And then I'll also just say that this resolution also includes the other recommended reductions, not just the arts, which were a little bit more based on staffing projections. Elementary is pretty clear in terms of building your staffing ratios to your max contract numbers in terms of class sizes. So just wanted to make sure that I clarified some of that for the board.
Yeah, well, I'll just close my thought. So I think the question that I want answered tonight to help frame where I am is, do we feel that this choice or this vote that we're taking tonight is so consequential that it itself will have lasting impacts on the program? Or do we feel that it's a signal of further things to come that will have impacts on the program? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out, because that hasn't really been presented to the board in that way. We're kind of hearing it now. So, yeah, I'll turn it over to.
You go last. So thank you, Chris. A couple of clarifying questions. Do we have time to table this and reconsider it again before our next meeting on March 10th? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. There has been a focus on, and we didn't hear too much about the 0.33, which is double number 2 there. Let's take both of those together, the fine arts and the CTE arts, integrated film and film studies, as a friendly amendment perhaps to Eric's idea. Is it manageable for us to do a portion of these and perhaps carve out the 1.333 of the arts related ones to take the time that we need with the commitment we would make a decision by March 10th? Can we segregate that, or would you prefer to have them all together?
I think it'd probably be beneficial to segregate them. That way we can get this done.
Yeah. Okay. And again, this is not the only factor, but if you can give an estimate, and I know, we have, Mr. Hunter is here, and so I'm not particularly looking for, but generally, this is on staffing, enrollment, et cetera, but tied with the March 15th deadline over budgeting and staffing costs. What's that cost all in roughly for a 1.33 FTE? What planning number would we use for that?
What would it add up to?
What's the number?
I mean, I give you general numbers. I
Yeah.
don't really feel like sharing people's.
No.
Okay. So usually we look at,
Hunter didn't want to share his, so that's okay.
yeah, right. We usually look at around 90,000 with all drivens for a 1.0 FTE. That's
Okay,
what we budget
thank
with.
you. That's helpful. Yeah, I will share. Before there was a Jones, there was a Nugent in that building. I think there's still a Cheshire Cat there, isn't there? My son did that before he went and became an architect at Cal Poly as an AP art. He didn't say that that's what feelings look like. But in another aspect of arts, I have a son who's a musician who did say that's what feelings sound like. So I would very much support us taking a look. I know this has come to us. Thank you all for coming. We need to make some difficult staffing decisions. This is not a board that kicks these things down the road, but I think this one is a little different because you're absolutely right, Melissa. We need to step up. In 2018, I was part of that group that created the 5-year plan. And we just need to evaluate, is that still where we are? You know, is that what we are going to do in a time of challenging finances? At the same time, we have, you know, a diligent principal who looks to say, I'm told we need to make some staffing tightening, and here's a methodology that he's been very diligent as in the superintendent. So I appreciate, Eric, your, I think, creative suggestion. Let's take a deeper dive program that I would support perhaps.
2 hours study session.
Yeah, carving out of resolution 22-10, the 1.333 of the arts related stuff for us to evaluate in some way before I think before our next meeting, so that we don't have to, I don't think having it during the meeting is going to give it enough time and a deep dive. But that would be and I would support that. So that's my thoughts.
So just so I understand, so you're somebody, you and Eric are, right now, you're thinking approve the resolution minus one of those numbers? Is that what you're?
Well, 2 of the numbers. Yeah.
Minus 2 and 3 that add up to?
1, 3, and 4.
Okay. Can we modify a resolution?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so here's kind of my thoughts on this. One, I want to support my fellow trustees. Look, we all ran for office because we have different things that we're kind of passionate about, and then we kind of learn about other things and what have you. And I'm passionate about the arts. Most people don't know that I'm an arts guy. Always have been in played all kinds of different instruments. I was in marching band, jazz band. I ballroom dance. Found out I do ballet now too, huh? Did all kinds of different things. My mom made us do it. She was a heck of a mom, and made sure that we were involved in everything, probably just to burn off all our extra energy. That said, I also got part of my dad in me. He was a superintendent. He had to balance budgets. He had to figure out how to pay for 7 kids on a educator's salary. I knew a few years ago when we got that 1.7 million for that BAPA grant, that was going to be a great booster to get us started. And it was going to be some painful times down the road when that money ran out. And people we get a taste of that candy, and we want to keep doing those things, but yet we don't have the funds for some of them. I don't know how to do this, and this isn't the time. I think your idea of us getting together and figuring out how to strategically, I know our district has the bandwidth to figure this out. I kind of think that we might have to approve something like this on a short-term basis, take a reprioritization, and take a couple steps back. And we need to get back into the younger grades, and we need to invest there to build up the interest and the kids and the desire for this. Again, my daughter Kaylee, who's graduated now a couple years, there was a ton of kids in the arts at the junior high, and they all came to high school, and most of them just quit doing any kind of arts related things. And I don't know what the disconnect was. We can certainly question and find out. But my approach and my thinking is that we might need to, if there's really not, and I don't want to get stuck and pigeonholed in this, well, there's not a demand for it at the high school, so we're not going to have it. I think what we need to do is, because we may not have much of a demand in certain areas right now, if it's something we want to promote, we need to invest at it at the younger grades and build it and carry it with it. So now all of a sudden we have, pick a number, 28th graders going to be coming in that are involved in something. We need to have them be ready and strategically plan to be ready to then, and the freshman year, we've got someone at the high school or something in the high school that can then continue that on. And then the 7th graders keep moving up, 6th graders and we just keep doing that. I think somewhere, I'm just going to blame it on COVID, because COVID has screwed up so many different things as far as continuing good programs. So that's kind of my thinking, is that I think financially, I think this might make financial sense. I know that it's not consistent with where we want to be and where we want to go. I mean, Bill, your one comment about your son, and and the arts, and I've never put it together before, but I can't draw a stick man. And in my industry, that's bad. When a client says, hey, just show me what that looks going to look like. I can't draw at all. And yet he's an architect and he does a really good job and he's very talented. And then I don't know, it just clicked in my head. I wonder how much of his development and his abilities were refined because of art. I never put the two together until just,
Most of it.
well, I mean, until just now. So I don't know. I mean, we all learn different ways. So we have a financial commitment as a board that we have to make certain things. And yet we're goal setters. We want to set goals and go forward. Because we have the ability to make something, get a little bit more information or go a little bit more, I'm okay with us if we can, if we do have the time to carve out one part of that based on what you guys want to do, come back to that issue. At least do this because, Chris, don't we have the other group also that's part of this resolution as well, the attachment A?
That's the next
Is that the
next
one?
resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
So we aren't.
This is PKS for certificated, and then we've got temp release, classified, and incremental temp release to discuss as well. So
with that.
So before you move on,
Sure.
President, I want to make sure I understand. Okay, so I understand to have a study session. I think what I'm trying to design the study session in my head right now, because we offer a lot of programs, right? And I understand that if you start something at the beginning, it builds a program. We can only have so many programs that start at a lower level,
Okay.
right? At the middle school, you really can only have a few things that you hang your hat on that then bubble up to have capstones at the high school. And so are we talking about having a discussion solely centered on art, or are we talking about our program offerings in general? Because all of it's intertwined and what we're going to hang our hat on at this study session. I'd really like to have better understanding of what this study session is, because if we're just talking about the 1.33 positions, that's a different study session than what I just described.
I think we're talking about two different things. The study session is something that we will all talk about as far as arts in general in our district and what our visions are coming forward. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
As far as we have a month or whatever between now and our next meeting to have more discussions and more thought and more little deeper dive if we need to on just that 1.33. That's they're two separate issues in my mind. Is that what everyone else is thinking, the same thing?
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to add to that. I don't know if this would be a different study session, but my vision was that we would revisit what is in that visual and performing arts master plan, because I don't even personally feel that I'm that familiar with it to know what grades it covers, what we're looking at, what the arts offerings that were envisioned were. So I would really like
Okay.
to revisit that master plan.
Maybe that's the study session.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah, but for purpose of dealing with 6.5 right now is, I think Eric's making, I don't know if it's an official motion, but I think he made a motion, and he can clarify that, to approve resolution 6.5 minus number 1 and number 2. Is that correct?
2, 2, and 3.
I'm sorry, number
No,
2.
no, the 2 parts of part 2, the way it's written.
yeah, it's a typo. It should read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Gotcha. So the second line and the third
Correct.
line.
You would be approving 1, 3, and 4, and we would table the rest for the March 10th, and I would bring forth another resolution, which would then give us time to do the study session together.
Gotcha.
That's a lot.
Okay.
You understand the recommendation?
I do.
Okay.
That's my motion. We need a second, and then we can decide.
I'll second that. Jen, you're the one who needs to understand the motion. You got it.
Do you, yeah, you don't have if you have a computer or not, but.
Good. Okay.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would second that, Eric.
Okay. So Eric made a first.
Whether it passes or we do-
Bill made a second with the modification. Modified. Okay. And then any more discussion from anybody else on the board? Do we need to go back out to the public on this?
Might want to ask him real quick.
Is there anybody in the audience that wants to discuss just the modification right now that hasn't already said anything else? Okay, I'll bring that back in and then.
Just
Stephanie?
one, I'm glad you came. We haven't had a situation like this in a while where we kind of, it feels a little odd to be in a place where we're changing course based on, we've gotten a recommendation and then we're kind of presented with new information. So I think we want to just make sure that we spend as much time as we need to really understanding.
No promises it will change, but.
Yeah,
more-
but I mean,
more
I think it's
information
really
probably.
important. But I think that's why I'm a little bit like, kind of trying to figure it out as I'm talking because we haven't been in this situation in a little bit, but I think it's good that we're taking a step back. And we have time too. So it's like, why not?
Yeah,
And that was intentional. Oftentimes you guys don't have time, right?
Yeah.
We really push to have this in February versus March. And we're going to try to do that every year from here on out.
And we love study sessions, so.
Yes, we do.
Anyhow,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah, it'll be an open meeting.
yeah.
If-
I mean,
District office.
yeah. And so there might be a closed session meeting about part of it too, and that part wouldn't be open to the public. But again, we appreciate everybody coming, everybody bringing their thoughts. I'm good with this right now. If that amendment wasn't made, I don't know where I can tell you. I'm pretty sure.
You can vote against it. It's okay.
No. We've got the time to have this come back and whatever. So I appreciate your motion, good thinking and what have you. And the discussion is great. I don't know what new information I'm going to get that's going to change ultimately my decision on that. But that's why we take the time to get that extra information. And I really appreciate you guys bringing this to us early. So that way we can do these things. I mean, we don't know what's going to come up in the next month that might influence that decision one way or the other. But again, so, we can discuss this more later. This is the motion on the table right now. And Eric approved it, Bill seconded it. And so Jim, we need to go for a roll call on just this modified with those two number twos, not part of this motion or part of this resolution.
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Stephanie Amard.
Yes.
Eric Heights.
Yes.
Malinali Lopez.
Yes.
Student board member Kay.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask that we try to put a
Oh.
calendar on there for now, so that we can do this in the next little while before we forget?
When is our,
We'll do it right now.
Yeah.
Might be easier now than to wait till later. I don't know if it's, unless you'd rather
I-
get your calendar separately.
I think maybe if we could have some time to figure that out, maybe not right in the moment.
yeah,
Might
if
be
if
pretty
we
tough.
could
How about
later.
tomorrow, maybe? If we
Yeah,
could
we'll
pin it
figure
down?
this out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 'cause-
And I'd like to make a clarification so everybody understands that when we talk about this in closed session, it's because we were talking about negotiations. So
Right.
there are certain rules about things you can talk about in closed session, and this was not being talked about out of turn. It was because we were discussing negotiations.
And I think, and thanks, since we had Ms. Bowman, thank you, since you asked, we get this room one night a month, I think. So it will very likely be, and it may be
It'll be our
late
conference
afternoon
room.
or early evening, but we'll have it over in our district conference room right across the parking lot. And, yeah.
It'll be noticed 2 or 3 days prior, as
Yep.
always.
Yeah, and just so you guys know that this next month is like super busy for me. I mean, it's already packed pretty good. So if we can look at the next day or two.
Yep.
The,
We'll get this done tomorrow, hopefully.
all right. Yeah, just for
Oh, you're
scheduling
off
wise.
tomorrow.
Already.
We're all off tomorrow. Maybe Tuesday, everybody. The whole district office is closed on Friday and Monday.
Okay.
Maybe we'll work through it. I'll talk to Jen. We'll figure it
It's all
out.
good.
That's nice.
Okay. Very good. Moving on to, thank you very much, Chris. Oh, you're still up here. All right, 6.6, consideration of approval of resolution 2022-11 to release temporary certificated employees. This item will be presented by Chris again.
Here I am, guys. And I just want to say thanks again to Eric. I know Melissa just took off and family. So we appreciate you coming and, speaking the story. So, okay. So the next resolution that you'll be considering is the release of all temporary teachers. And so what you have in attachment A are the names of those individuals, where they serve and what their position entails, including the FTE. This is something that's brought before the board each year. regarding those teachers that are in an appropriate temporary designation for their assignment. Any questions? Releasing temp teachers does not mean that they will not be reemployed.
Thank you. Because
First rights back, correct?
Well, can you explain what a temporary teacher is, Chris, please?
So there's three legal ways to have a true temporary teacher. One is a leave of absence. Okay, one is categorical funding, and one is contracted services. So many of these teachers are behind a teacher who's on a leave of absence. That's typically what you see in a public school district regarding a temporary teacher allocation.
I always like to include that because a lot of people, especially new ones, are new teachers or family of new people. They're like, oh, they got laid off. Well, it's kind of a thing we have to do for budgeting. You know, if the state of California did things different and the rule came after, then we wouldn't have to do this, but we always have to kind of preemptively. And I know it doesn't matter when you're the person that is on that list, it always is nerve wracking and it's just normal and natural.
Right.
And so I appreciate you saying that. So then that way everybody's aware that that is the way it kind of
The
works.
other piece of information that helps this make sense is that, you know, you have probationary and permanent status for certificated teachers. So the temp teachers are behind somebody that has permanent status, and therefore they remain temp while serving in that role.
Okay. Any discussion amongst board members on this item right now? No? Okay, I'd like to take it out to the public real quick. Is there anybody in the public that would like to discuss item 6.7? Okay, seeing nobody, I'll bring it back to the board. We'd like a motion.
I'll move to approve resolution 2022-12.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Stephanie second. And then Jim, we need a roll call.
No, but I'm sorry. I think it was 2022-11.
Yeah,
I was
sorry.
ahead. Excuse me.
No. Am I on the wrong one?
6.6.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Let's do that again. I'd like to get a motion for 6.6 resolution to approve resolution 2022-11.
And I will. And I did.
And I will second again.
And Stephanie will second it again. And now we'll have a roll call. I'm sorry. I'm juggling between the simple little one and the big old thick sucker that I had to print out because I don't have my computer quite set up yet. So I'm going old school, and after a while, after 8 o'clock, they all start to look alike. Anyhow, so with that said, Jenny, can we have a roll call on 6.6?
Rich Carnation.
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Stephanie Moore.
Yes.
Eric Height.
Yes.
Alan Ollie Lopez.
Yes.
Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. All righty, now we're going to move on to 6.7. And consideration and possible extension of resolution 2022-12 to terminate assignment employment in excess of 1.0 FTE. This will be presented by Chris.
Yeah, so the way I'll paint this picture for you is that many times you have a teacher who's permanent, and I'll just start with a 1.0. And then maybe throughout the year, you get some new students, you have a need to open up a new section, and you provide them an incremental FTE above their permanent or probationary status. So we have many teachers currently in the district who serve in a 1.2, 1.167, and there's a handful in a 1.25. The way that we determine that additional incremental FTE just all depends on the structure of the school. So the high school teachers, because there's an 8-period day, each section is 0.167. So with the volume of ESSER funds and the different needs that came about in terms of making sure that we could serve our students appropriately, we've added a number of different incremental supplemental assignments throughout the district. Each year this happens, and past practice in our district has been to notify those teachers when that additional FTE is added that it's temporary and it will go away. And we haven't necessarily noticed teachers. And so we wanted to take an extra measure of precaution by providing a board resolution to you to ensure that we're going about things and documenting that reduction in FTE. even though it's something that's been understood and the past practice hasn't included a resolution that's come before the board, those incremental supplemental FTE would just then end and the certificated employee would return back to their status. Does that make sense? So this is just an extra measure of precaution for our district.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the board?
I do. Pete, would you mind just sharing with us from the podium, these last three have been certificated measures. I am, having been on the board for a while, Chris, have not seen this one. I sort of lump it in like the temporaries we just got, that there's an excess of 1.0. It allows now the notice to meet and confer that we do with a formal process. Does not mean that if someone has a 1 point plus, that 1 point plus might not be back given the circumstances as the school year starts again. I just wanted to hear from you, Pete. Are you comfortable that there's still the usual amount of coordination, communication with you and your members?
Actually, I think this is better because it outlines it very clearly, because before it would just end, and by the nature of the contract, it ends. So when they do the extra thing, they agree for it just for the school year anyway. But I think by having the resolution here, it makes it clear that we're starting over. Nobody's committed for next year. And then if the need arises, it's doable again. So I think it's a much cleaner way to do it.
Thank you for your comment.
And I don't know if I've ever asked this, maybe either of you can answer. So those extras that are available potentially, is it based on the seniority list, or how do we offer that to individuals if there's in the same department, there's more than one person that may be able to take that position? Posted and applied for?
And usually it's by volunteer only. So teachers can't be forced into it. Same with 0 period.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
Very good. Thanks. Okay. See, I only see one other person out in the public. Do you have a, and I can't remember if I asked on this particular item. Do you have anything on this one, ma'am? Deborah? Okay. All righty. I'll bring it back to the board. Has anybody, any discussion, or anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Stephanie got it first. I'm going to second this one and ask Jen for a roll call.
Rich Carnation.
Yes?
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Yes.
Eric Kite.
Yes.
Ollie Lopez. Student Board Member Kai Heffernan.
Yes.
It's me again.
All righty.
Okay.
It's a good thing we like you.
Yeah.
We're now moving on to 6.8, consideration possible action of resolution 2022-13 to eliminate certain positions classified service.
Yeah. So what we have before you tonight is our recommendation to lay off Secretary 3, 1.0, Program Instructional Assistant, 0.6875, a paraprofessional at 0.21875. You have to forgive me for my exact incremental amounts, but we pulled it right from the finance software. And then a student advisor at 0.43125. These were all positions created to help us mitigate COVID in light of some of the additional needs that we felt we had throughout the district. They were short-term positions, but no CSEA position is truly short-term. Once you hire an employee, they then go on to the permanent track status and as outlined in our contract, if that makes sense. These were all positions that were funded with various ESSER funds, and the employees were notified at the beginning of the terms of the contract that these positions would be ending at the end of the year. It doesn't mean that we won't necessarily assess our needs, and the potential to bring these positions back could be there. I'd also like to highlight that there were a number of positions. We had planned to lay off all positions that were funded in that short-term status that I just described. However, as we looked at our developing child development program and some of the needs there, we were actually able to look at some positions that we hired that would need to then be ongoing. So we're not recommending all of the positions that we created with ESSER funds be cut. Some positions we can see falling under ongoing funding sources because there's a need. One example of that is because we're going to have new TK programs, additional classes, we needed additional IAs. And so we know it's tough sometimes to hire. So we committed to funding some of those positions because we foresee the need to be ongoing.
Yeah, a question, Chris, and then similar to Pete, if you wouldn't mind coming down, Brad, and just giving us your view on this process. I know for this year, the legislature specifically protected the otherwise available layoff for transportation, food service, and custodial, I think were the three elements of the classified service. Do we know anything about whether or not that protection will lapse this year? Will it continue in some way? Do we know anything about that? And that's kind of for both you and Brad.
Not to my knowledge.
Bill, that was, that expired last year, actually.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. It's good to stay up to date.
But we will welcome Brad to the podium to
Yeah.
answer any questions.
Brad, yeah, and
It
much like
did
I asked.
expire. It did expire
Okay.
last year.
Much like I asked President Stefanisco for the WDEA from CSEA, I'd just be interested. Chris is new. This is your chance. How is it going? Do you and your members feel that you were engaged at this process going through this now this year in February and into March?
Yes, we did know about these positions, and Chris has been in communication with me on what was going to happen. Fortunately, nobody's really going to lose their job. They'll
Understood.
be able to move to other positions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else from the board? All right, I'd like to ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this. Not seeing any, I'll bring it back to the board. This is being a resolution. We need a motion. Anybody like to make a motion to pass 6.9?
I'll make a motion
Okay.
6.8.
Oh, I'm sorry.
on 6.8.
I did it again. You guys got to start putting these on one on a page for me.
I'll second.
All righty, so we got first Stephanie, second is Bill. All right, Jim, roll call? Yes?
Bill Adams.
Yep.
Stephanie Amar.
Yes.
Eric Kite.
Yes.
Malin Lopez.
Yes.
Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Yes.
All right, great. Now, moving on to 6.9, consideration of
Thank
approval
you.
resolution 2022-14, authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds not to exceed $14,600,000 and approval of related documents and action. This will be presented to us by Austin.
Actually don't have a presentation on this. It's
Okay.
Just another discussion. Yeah, this, by approving this resolution, you also approve the other two attachments with it. Those two attachments are to be filled out by the underwriters. One before the purchase with our credit rating once we go through Moody's. And then one is the board bond purchase agreement, which is filled out afterwards, declaring how many bonds for how much. We can't know that until the credit rating. This is for 14.6. This is the final of three measures, it is the final funding of the three different funding levels of Measure F, which was issued in 2016. So, thank you.
Very good. Any comments from anybody on the board? Nope.
Okay, sorry. So the 14.6 million, the final parts of Measure F that we passed in 2016. This money will be used for the Cali building in the most part? Okay. Thank you.
Correct, for the most part.
This is good. I mean, with interest rates and things that are anticipated to go up, I think it's wise to lock this in now for the ratepayers to get the best deal we can and for us to utilize the money that we need to finish those off. So I'll make a motion to approve this.
I'll second.
Second is Stephanie. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks, Bill. Anybody in the audience that would like to say anything about this? Okay, not seeing any. Back to the board. I made a motion to approve it. Stephanie seconded it, and then we need a roll call from Jen. Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Stephanie Amar.
Yes.
Eric Kite.
Yes.
Malin Lopez.
Yes.
Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, this is a business meeting. When I saw this agenda, I was like, oh man, I hope this isn't an 11 o'clock meeting. Anyhow, so now we're gonna go to item 7.1, future school board agenda items. I just would like to get it written down. So Bill, you mentioned earlier that you wanted to,
I would like to have a report and discussion item about the options and for us to give direction on filling vacancies, just so we can get educated on that and get that ball rolling. It would seem to me one of the items might be whether and how we put a notice out that there may be a potential vacancy such that we might get an early kickoff on applications if people wanted to do that. So we, but we of course cannot fill until there is a vacancy, but I think it would have merit and be frankly a good leadership gesture by this government entity to talk about it beforehand.
I don't, so we're going to talk about it, but I don't think we can actually put something out until there's actually, I mean, we could advisory, I guess, maybe something, right?
Why don't we bring options?
Yeah.
I think that's what-
All right.
yeah.
Anyhow,
Just-
so that'll be in our next board meeting, right?
Yes, we can do that the next one. And just last month, you guys had asked about putting future, we had items that were on there and put them back. So I want to show you that we're doing it a little bit differently though. So if you click on
This
the
is the
attachment for
statistical one.
7.1,
Yeah.
we've created a new heading at the bottom called parking lot items
Mhm.
because those are different topics that may come up. And as we assign them, we can assign months to those, but that's where they'll be housed.
Great.
Excellent. And then also just want to confirm that, so our next board meeting for the next few, or until we need to not have it on there, have a section on, COVID. COVID-related
Yes, yes,
issues, whatever.
yes.
And I think make sure that that's in the
It'll be in discussion.
discussion action section.
Oh, discussion
I
action.
would put it, I would put it
Discussion
in
is
discussion
action.
action. in the
Understood,
event
okay.
That we might
No, I
be-
understand.
have the option of the availability for action.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And, yeah. And
Anybody else that has something that we, either that's,
Yeah, I would like a future item to be emergency measures at our school. So like what happens if there's an emergency, whether it's, a fire or, I hope to God not, but like if there's like a school shooting or those types of emergencies, what are our protocols?
Melanie, actually, Bill brought this up a while back. I think we were going to have I don't want to say study session, but something like that, but it actually, part of it was going to be closed session, if I remember right.
So that would be difficult to go through all of the different emergency actions. We can look at our school safety plans and highlight certain aspects of them potentially. I think that might be the most beneficial
I had planned to bring those to the board before the board at the next board meeting.
next month. So maybe,
Okay.
oftentimes though we don't do a major presentation, maybe we'll plan a more robust presentation next month because of the request. Is that maybe what you're at? Would that work?
Yes, and thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, and just also, maybe Bill can explain it, but my memory was that we were going to have a closed session and bring,
there is the opportunity under the government code to have a closed session related to security issues.
Okay.
And I think a safety plan overview and whatnot, to my mind, would be sort of after we have that. It could be a closed session even before that regular meeting. And that might be something where our police chief comes and say, hey, here is some operational deployment details we would like you to know about.
Okay.
That they may not perhaps want to be publicizing in an open update to the safety plan. Not that those are there or not there, but it's an available option under our closed session. And I think there may be, and that's not why I brought up the Parkland shooting, but
Yeah.
I think it's, we did have an ambulance over at one of the schools this week. I think both would be probably valuable.
Okay.
We have, I know an investment in cameras, and I imagine an investment, substantial though it was, may not have 150% coverage of everywhere. And we made certain decisions about where cameras went and didn't go. And I don't know, again, we would like to have that, if it was available to be discussed as a risk-benefit issue, there probably is an opportunity for us to be informed about some of that stuff in a closed session and a determination be made to say, not that we want to hide anything from the public, but there are, again, risk management decisions that are made that may be safety, health, safety kind of things.
So I never want to overpromise.
Right.
So I think that we can definitely do the safety plans and highlight certain aspects of them. That's a more in-depth presentation that I
Right.
think require multiple partners.
Right.
So I would love to be able to do that next month, but I don't want to guarantee it in closed session
Okay.
next month. Just
and just with that, actually, not only just the police chief, but I would probably want to see if we could, maybe we take a little bit of time to set it up properly. But we might want to bring in the Public Works Director for Windsor and the fire folks as well, fire and ambulance type thing. So that way we just kind of have a general idea of what they know. For example, we take care of a lot of big, large lakes, right? We have, emergency action plans in case the dams break. And you would be blown away if you knew how many people, how many agencies are all involved in those things, and that we're involved, my company, that we're involved in. And so there might be a lot of things that we don't know about that are already in place. And I think it would be good, and that's, I think, to Bill's point, it'd be good for us as board members to kind of know what resources are out there available for us and for all our students and families to have access to in case something comes up that, God forbid that, something happens.
Sure.
So so we know a little bit more and are aware of it. So anyhow, I think that's the point.
Understood.
Anybody else on anything? But I do like the idea of adding that to the bottom.
Reminder that we meet on a different day next month, right?
Oh, yeah, our next meeting, Jen, is March
Instead of
10th.
the 17th, yeah,
Right, it's a week earlier.
which allows for us to beat the 15th deadline.
And for me to make-
Here or across back in the DO? Yes. Oh, we are. Okay, good. And you'll push out a coordinated date for the study session on those remaining art FTEs?
Okay,
We think we have a date, but we'll verify it via email.
So,
oh, sorry.
and we are not adjourning. We're going to recess into closed session.
We've got to have a short
Yeah,
closed
so
session.
we're not adjourning.
Okay, so we're not adjourning. If there's anything else anybody else would like to bring up before we leave, you have lost that opportunity. We're going to go. Thank you all for coming and spending the night with us.
Good night. Thank you.
Do you guys want to stay in here for closed and just have everybody take off, or do you want to head back to the conference? What? Just head over. We got to go ahead over there anyway, don't we? Yeah, okay.
I'm calling dibs on one little piece of it. Belly's big and the stomach's small.
Amanda already sent the video stuff she hasn't told us about.